Hello, this is NVK. A lot of you know me from Twitter, and I make secure hardware things.
And this is Gary Leland, and you're listening to episode 137 of the Crypto Cousins podcast.
Feed your interest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies by joining Hall of Fame podcaster Gary Leland on the Crypto Cousins podcast. And remember, we are all cousins in the world of crypto.
Howdy, 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 howdy. Rodolfo, welcome to the show for the second time.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's always fun. Nice to see you again.
It's always enjoyable talking to you. I enjoyed meeting you this last summer down here in Dallas at
we had some good barbecue.
We had some good barbecue. We had some good times. It was, Rodolfo, I don't care what it is. If you got a lot of Bitcoiners around, you're going to have a good time, right?
It is quite amazing, isn't it? Like I don't think I have ever had a bad time like just hanging out with Bitcoiners. It's always fun. Even with the ones who don't agree, it's such a it's a crowd that's interested in talking about the things that may be uncomfortable.
Right. I think some people, now I don't know, you're in Canada. What part? Well, you don't even tell where you're at, but I think you're in Canada. And I don't know if where you live, if you see a lot of Bitcoin people. Where I live, I really see a couple, but not many. So when I'm around them, I'm wondering if someone like me who sees some, but not many, if it's just way more enjoyable than for someone who sees a bunch all the time,
Yeah, I mean, we have some locals here that we have dinners with. We often have we go to a nice steakhouse and we get like a private room and we get like 12 people or so and eat there, just Bitcoiners. But we don't have a lot of Bitcoin conferences in Toronto. We have a lot of shitcoiners here.
So we have a lot of shitcoiners everywhere.
Well, yeah, there is that. I think the biggest issue for us, the stench is old. Ethereum started here.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. We had some interesting stuff too. I mean, like Dark Wallet was invented here in a hackathon, and like we have like a lot of cool old stuff, but we also have a lot of the scammers. I guess the scammers are everywhere.
Yeah, well, I think that just goes with the territory of being a kind of currency.
Yeah. I mean, it's money, right?
When you have money, you have people wanting to take the money.
That's right. It's I mean, but I also can't blame, right? A lot of this. I mean, I can blame their character, but like I can't really blame the incentives, right? I mean, there's just too much dumb money on the table for people not to want to take it, right? Take advantage of that. It's
compared to the other monies you can steal,
right?
Well, this may be the actual. You want to say Bitcoin is the hardest money and it's the safest money, but in another sense, it may be the easiest money to steal.
Yeah,
I mean, people have poor habits.
You know, I love that. I think it was Pierre that brought back the word. I love that word so much. Bitcoin is extremely salable. That's one of my favorite words. A lot of people actually they seem to confuse and conflate fungible with salable. And Bitcoin is actually more salable than it is fungible.
Would explain that more in detail to me.
So salable here. Let me get just the dictionary for you guys to. So it's offered or suitable for sale, marketable. It's capable of being sold, purchasable, hence finding a market in demand. Right. So what happens with Bitcoin is that because Bitcoin is uncensorable, it can be bought, sold, and purchased without any barriers. So anyone can buy and sell it anywhere. So it's almost like fungible. It's just that fungible has a few different connotations there, but it's a very liquid asset. I think arguably Bitcoin is the most liquid asset. It's the most salable asset. So with gold, I used to be into gold way back. I lost most of my love for gold. gold, you can't board an airplane with gold, right? They're
You
good
got a
luck
little
with
wheelbarrow,
that,
you can come toting your gold with you, right?
right? Good luck with that. Gold has extremely cost to maintain, to store, to verify. You know, we don't live in a world that you can bite the gold bar anymore and be sure it's real, right? I mean, there's some pretty incredibly like high quality fake stuff out there. You need extremely expensive equipment to verify.
I see every time I see that, you know, that someone's selling gold, or I get some email about get you some gold and stuff. I'm going, how do I know that's even gold? I mean, you know,
Yeah,
or
and
maybe just the outside's gold. I'd have to drill
that's
a
right.
hole through it.
Yeah, and even if you put a hole through it, right? Like they can make like very interesting alloys that will look like it as well. So it's pretty hopeless there without some very fancy equipment. And what gold has going for it, it's the straw man argument of ultimate currencies, right? So, oh, if the power is out and no internet and no this and no that and shit hits the fan kind of deal, right? Then you know, then people are gonna say, oh, gold is the only way that works that way. And I don't believe that's true, because when you're not gonna be able to you're not gonna be able to transact that without verifying it in that scenario. Two, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg to maintain its security. And three, the reality is in those true shit hits the fan scenarios, you know, bullets will probably be worth more than gold, right? Bullet and food.
I think little tiny pints of Jack Daniels could be pretty good.
Exactly. I mean, we're gonna need that to survive that too, right?
You pull up to the checkpoint and he's been drinking out of a still for a year, and you pull up with a pint of Jack Daniels. He's not gonna let you right through the checkpoint.
There you go, right? I mean, it's kind of funny, but during the communist era, right? Like, I mean, cigarettes and booze were some super high demand currency, right? So it's that's what people really need, and you know, Bitcoin would still function, you know, with failed states, right? It's very unlikely that you would have a scenario in the world where all the states, the whole planet fails at the same time. So if you have places where the internet still work, you can still connect all of them through, you know, meshnet satellites or whatever, and still get things going. You can use radios. You can use, you know, it's all possible with Bitcoin. So I guess I'm a little tired of that straw man argument for gold.
Right. Yeah. You know, and I think personally, a lot of people don't keep their gold with them. I mean, if you have a large amount of gold, I don't think you really keep a large amount of gold
Well,
in
if
your
you have
house.
if you have a large amount of gold, you're gonna need a forklift.
Yeah, yeah. And so, or it's gonna be somewhere else probably too. So you've got to, in a case of if all shit did hit the fan, you've got to get to it.
That's right.
I mean, so you may have to go to another city even, you know, to get to your gold, according to how much you have and how much, you know, how it wears in storage. Because I think a lot of people who buy gold, maybe they don't. I'm not a gold bug, so I'm just going off what I see on TV, you know, on shows and things I watch. But I think a lot of people don't accept delivery of their gold.
Yeah, that's a huge problem, right? That we don't even know if there is enough gold to deliver for everybody to take delivery.
And the world comes, what are they getting in a jet and flying to another country to pick up their
But
gold?
but you know, and even then, it's not that simple, right? I mean, you know, even small airports are somewhat controlled, right? You might just not be allowed to take your gold. And then what? You're gonna pack their airplane with a bunch of guys full of guns too, and you know, it's completely unrealistic, right?
And then you got to find someone who's going to leave their family during this time period and fly you there.
Well, and then there's the cost of all that, right? So say the average family, right, with their savings and stuff, it's a few $100,000, right?
Yeah.
Well, they can't afford to fly private to another continent.
Yeah, so they're going to spend more than their gold's worth.
So, you know, it's one of those things, right? Like they've been enjoying the straw man argument for too long. So I think it's time to reclaim that.
Well, I think you're correct, and I think the fact that you can, well, actually, I guess if you get down to it, you just got to memorize your keywords in your mind. I mean, and you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Brain wallets are a little bit dangerous just because you might not get the entropy right or whatever. But
Right.
if you just do it right, I mean, it's not advisable, but it's a solution,
Mhm.
right? But remember, right? I mean, with gold, you can also just write the 24 words on something, split it or whatever, or encrypt it, or micro SD card of your Coldcard or whatever, and just cross a border, right? Or you can go to the other place, you can set up a wallet there, bring the address you want to send the coins to back with you, and then sign the transaction with your hardware wallet, and then leave the country. So you sent the coins before you left, right? So you don't have to necessarily go through the airport.
Oh, yeah, that's true. So, yeah, in other words, though, it's a heck of a lot easier is what we're saying.
I mean, Bitcoin is copy and paste money, right? I mean, if you can copy and paste an address, you can send $1 billion for like, $10, $20 in transaction fees.
Yeah. Very minimal amount. I see it all the time. I'll see a post, billion sent for $8.62, or something.
That's right.
Hey, we were talking before the show, and I didn't have this in my notes to go over, but I think it's kind of an interesting thing to talk about. Is right now when we're recording this show, it's April the 30th, and Bitcoin went up like 17% yesterday. It went from maybe 7,500 to it hit 9,300 probably at one point. And my wife, like a ton of people on Twitter, we're seeing our happy days are here. We're never going to see $8,000 again, blah, 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 blah. Because they've never really seen this, and they've never gone through a halvening, which I haven't gone through a halvening, but I have seen this happen a couple of times by now. Spike up to 19, down to 32, spike up to 14, down to 38. So you've gone through several halvenings, I assume too. I don't know when you got into it, but I feel like you got into it early. Am I right?
Well, I mean, there was a bolt accident, and and business happened, and all that stuff. But I've been around for a little while.
Well, what are your thoughts on what we probably would see coming up after the halvening, to the halvening, and after halvening? I know we're not giving financial advice, just what your thoughts are, because I think we're going to see something that would be classic for the stocks you buy on the rumor, sell on the news.
Yeah. So the problem with the halvening is, it's impossible to price in anything, right? Because markets are not efficient. So what's going to happen is, I mean, very likely, if story repeats itself, is you're going to see a run up right before the halvening, because the market is trying to find the price, and then after the halvening, nothing happens, and miners need to sell some coin, and then the price depresses, right? So you're going to have a big correction there. And then a few months later, price starts climbing again, and then you have you should have a rally as usual.
Right, but it's the immediate sell off after that. Do you think? I thought if I'm not a miner, like we're talking about miners, that are spending a fortune and they have to sell their coins because they got to pay for their electricity and their equipment and staff and stuff. But you would almost think that if you were a mining company, like going into the halvening like 30 days ahead of time or 2 months ahead of time, you quit selling.
Yeah, so
because it's going to go up.
This is not your normal market, right? Like your standard sort of industry, because Bitcoin is still a kiddie pool, right? It's still a small market. So any sort of mid-sized to large investor, right, can have a monumental effect on price, right? It's very easy for 10 guys with $100 million to move the price. Mm-hmm. And two is you can have large investors, right, funding miners, where the miners are in a position where they don't have to sell for a long time. And another nice thing too is smart miners are accruing debt, or they're accruing like just losses on the balance sheet, right, that they can offset their gains later on. So there's a lot of interesting stuff that could happen there. I think there's a lot of, at least most of the miners I know, are not playing the short-term game here, right? Like these guys are all sort of using very long-term horizon, either that or other instruments to fund the mining facility. But
what is it? What do you mean by that? I'm not sure I understand what you're saying.
So these guys are playing with, say, like 10-year runaways.
Okay.
Right. So that they don't have to sell coin now to pay for their mining costs. So that because if you're doing mining right, you're acquiring Bitcoin for a lower price than retail.
Right.
Right.
Or you should just turn your machines off and just buy it.
Exactly. Right. So these guys that are doing right in this right scale, they are just accumulating. They're using the miners as an accumulation device, really. So, but like everything Bitcoin is impossible to know. We can speculate to death.
Right.
But it's a very opaque system, even though the monetary policy is transparent, which is pretty cool, actually.
Yeah. Well, like I said, everything about Bitcoin is pretty cool in my mind. Hey, I want to go over next some things with you about CoinKite.com. That's your site, because I have some real questions about stuff for me. And I've always found if I have questions, someone else does, and the best way to find out is get the guy who can answer them the best, and everybody can find out. But before I do that, I do want to take this moment to make sure everybody listening knows about BITBLOCKBOOM. BITBLOCKBOOM is in Dallas, Texas, every August, the end of August this year, and I call it a real Bitcoin conference because that's all we talk about is Bitcoin. We don't talk about altcoins, blockchain, just Bitcoin. This will be our third year in Dallas. So if you're interested in Bitcoin, please take a moment, go to bitblockboom.com, check out our list of speakers. And if you decide to come, use the code COUSINS, COUSINS at checkout, and that'll save you 30%. And this year, Rodolfo, I think we're going to have a sellout.
Oh yeah, man! It was such a great event last time. I'm really looking forward to the next one.
Well, we were selling at a really, really good clip, way ahead of last year. And then everything shut down, and sales didn't stop. That was kind of odd, I thought, but they did trickle down to a crawl. But now Texas opens up tomorrow, and so a lot of places are opening back up. And the way I'm looking at it, Rodolfo, is BitBlockBoom is probably going to be the first conference of the year.
Yeah, that's actually very possible.
And everybody's going to be going, I've been waiting to go to conferences all year. This is the first one. And we were selling good anyway. So I think now I feel really confident. And I haven't been really pushing it hard because I didn't want to be seen, people going, I can't believe everybody's suffering and stuff. Right. And here he is pushing this conference. So I've been kind of on the down low. But now that things are getting better, I think I'll start.
When is it again? Is it November?
August. Last weekend in August.
August.
Yeah. And you're one of our speakers on the lineup this year. We have a great lineup of speakers. This is going to be a great conference this year. I'm pretty excited.
It's going to be fun.
And as Matt Odell said, I like Matt Odell's quote that he made some time ago. He goes, having a conference in Dallas, Texas in August could end up looking like the most genius idea ever. Because it's hot down here. You can agree to that, right?
Yeah, no, it is definitely hot. I mean, just so people get a sense, on the last one, I went straight from the airport to the shooting range.
Oh my gosh.
And it must have been like 40 degrees Celsius. I don't know how much that is.
It probably was like 105.
Yeah, and it was a very taxing experience to just immediately get out of the plane, you feel the heat, and then you go play at the range of the guns. It was fun.
And I know that he's planning on doing that again this year. But that hasn't been set up. But he's doing that, and we have Bitcoin and barbells, and we have the Citadel workshop, and Matt Odell's going to do an event. And my goal for this was to do because BitBlockBoom's really Saturday, if you think about it, and Sunday's the brunch, which is really fun. And then my goal is to finally, when this all starts, is to maybe we get a whole week of Bitcoin stuff going on. And it's ended up with BitBlockBoom, which I'm doing, and the brunch I'm providing. But all these other people, the whole week, are doing stuff. So it ends up,
you doing 2 days this time or just 1 day?
well, we're doing the 1 day BitBlockBoom like we did last time, and then the brunch again on Sunday, which is like 10 to 2. And then Friday,
that was
we
great.
have 2 workshops already. And Matt will make the 3rd workshop. And then we have the Satoshi Nakamoto dinner that night. I'm sure you went to last year. It was the barbecue dinner last year.
It was awesome.
So that's all day Friday.
We got Jimmy to auction his hat.
I think that's the first time he auctioned. He's done it since, but I think that's the first time he ever auctioned his hat.
So it was kind of my fault. I think I screamed, "Put your hat on the pile" the first time. And then when we were in Riga, Latvia, for the other conference, he was auctioning his book, and I screamed again, "Put your hat on the pile."
I told Jimmy, if I was you, I would start bringing another hat just to wear whenever you're going to an auction event, because because it takes a while to get a hat, broken in and comfortable. So I would take 2 hats when I went somewhere from now on, Jimmy, and one is the one you wear, and then when you're going to an auction event that night, put on the new hat that's not broken in yet.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's the way. Hey, I want to talk about your site, coinkite.com. First of all, how'd that come into be? How'd you get into all the stuff you create?
We got in Bitcoin way back then in the very early beginnings of this. And, we were building Bitcoin debit cards, Bitcoin debit machines, and infrastructure for other companies. And it was too early. And that's sort of like, so we really decided a few years ago to focus on what we actually like to do with our lives, which is like making hardware, just really focusing on hardware. And, when we closed our hosting service for Bitcoin, I looked at the market. There was Trezor, Ledger, hardware wallets, and I didn't find that they were secure enough for my stuff or for people I knew, and we created a better, safer, more secure hardware wallet, and the market seemed to really take on and sort of like became one of the best selling ones. And we do everything sort of like from the paranoid side. So it's like ultra secure. It's open source. It's privacy by default. We sort of like check all those boxes, right? Because these are the boxes that we have ourselves. It's very important to do that, and we felt there was a big gap in the market for that. And we also make OpenDime, which is like a
OpenDime was actually the first wallet I ever saw, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, that's the first one. The day I learned about Bitcoin, someone showed me their OpenDime.
Yeah, it's such a great device for that, right? Because it's a physical Bitcoin, and you can just you don't have to explain anything. You just give it to the next person, and they have it.
It reminds me of if you watch Blade Runner. They're like, here's a credit stick, and it's got the money, whatever the money is during that era, when the movie is going on, and they hand him the money. Here's a stick, and that's what it reminds me of, a Bitcoin stick. Hey, I got a question. And during, I was telling Matt when he was on the show recently, I ran into a guy at a lunch some time ago at a Bitcoin meetup, and he had 10 Bitcoin, he said, and he put every Bitcoin on a paper wallet, 1 Bitcoin per paper wallet, because he was really concerned. Mm-hmm. And that seems to be one way to do it. So I use this guy as my example when I'm talking about wallets and security features and things like that. So with your OpenDime, which is very secure. Even though I used it, I watched the video last night by Matt again on the OpenDime.
Yeah, the Coldcard. Yeah, the Coldcard you're talking about, right?
No, I'm talking about the OpenDime.
Okay.
The OpenDime. The OpenDime is you plug it into your USB and it flashes green if it hasn't been used yet. And you poke the hole in it, right?
Yeah.
You can tell if it's been used because you can't take off the Bitcoin until you poke the hole in it. It's got great security features.
Yep.
Now, could this guy, instead of using a paper wallet, 10 paper wallets, could he do the same thing with 10 open dimes?
So he could. The reality is like Open Dime was designed for commerce, for gifting, for transacting, right? Because it doesn't have a backup. I'd prefer if people don't use it for long-term hodl, right? And that's why we created Coldcard.
Okay, so the whole concept of the open dime is just for transferring Bitcoin.
Yeah, because you get anonymity
in a physical form.
That's right. You get anonymity, you get everything. Now with Coldcard, right? It has all the features and it's designed from scratch for you to hold millions of dollars securely, privately, and completely offline.
Now, I have some questions about the Coldcard too. As you know, I just bought some. Now, would this guy with his 10 Bitcoin, would he need 10 Coldcards? Because I noticed.
No. He only needs one.
That's what I'm thinking. Because the Coldcards now come with SD cards.
Yeah.
And I figured, I was looking at it and I said, well, gosh, couldn't you just buy one Coldcard and 10 SD cards and put a Bitcoin on every SD card?
Yeah, you could do that. There's many ways you can use it, right? So you can have multiple passphrases, right? So you have different hodls there. You could use it with multi-signature between two Coldcards. So if you want to up the ante on your security, you can also just create multiple encrypted like SD cards with Bitcoin in them, and just store those. There's many ways, and what's important here is Coldcard is not going to let you do poor Bitcoin security from itself, right? So it has very high grade sort of how can I explain? It's like a sanity check, right? Good hygiene on how to do your Bitcoins. So for example, Coldcard, when you plug it into a computer, is not going to talk back to a server like Ledger or Trezor do, to check balances and things like that, right? You're going to use it with Electrum or something else more secure, more private, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it has all those things by default. And it's like fairly easy to use. But then if you really want to do it right, you never plug it into a computer.
Yeah, I noticed when Matt was doing his, he did all his stuff, pulled out the SD card, put the SD card in the computer, synced it with his wallet, put it back into the open dime. The Coldcard never touched the internet.
Yeah. You can definitely run it off of a battery in your secure room or in your. You can even keep one, I don't know, in a safe deposit box, and then you just take a battery with you and a micro SD card, and you do the transactions via what we call SneakerNet, which is you just shuffle around micro SD cards to do transactions instead of using the USB of a computer. And that really increases the security a lot. I mean,
that would increase the security, so that sounds like that's a little more secure than writing down 10 paper wallets to me.
Yeah, well, so the biggest issue with paper wallets is that you still have to use a computer to generate them, and you have to use a printer to print them, right?
And the ink can just fade, I guess, over time.
Well, and burn and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But like, imagine this, right? You go through all that trouble of making a private key that is offline, right? But if you use the computer that's compromised to create that key, well, now you have a compromised key, even though it's in paper.
Right. So
the
you
idea
really didn't accomplish anything.
Exactly. So for the people who like paper wallets, we created a feature inside of Coldcard. So Coldcard can generate paper wallets for you.
Oh.
So then you don't have to use a compromised computer to generate paper wallets.
Oh, that makes more sense.
It's really cool. And you don't even have to trust us because you can actually use dice.
And that was another thing. I didn't understand the dice deal. I saw he rolled the dice and he put the numbers in. So what is the so on the video I watched, for those listening, Matt Odell was setting up his wallet, and when he was going to get his seed phrase or whatever, he was rolling dice and he would add these numbers. There's 11, he put in 11. There's a 5, he put in a 5. And then he did his seed phrase. He said, create seed phrase.
Yep.
So the numbers that you put in, the random numbers from a dice, that somehow affects the seed phrase, I'm assuming.
Exactly. So, you know, we have a very secure device. The random number generator that we have in our device is a verified one. It's like a very sort of like high quality like it has auditing on it, right? Unlike some other devices. But the way we function as a company is we like to trust minimize everything, right? So even though we have quality random number generators, why don't we just give the users a way of even not trusting that, right? So what we do is we created a little UI that you keep on throwing dice and typing in the number that the dice gave. That means you have an extra source of true entropy, right? So you have a source of random stuff that we would not even be able to know even if we were nefarious. So once you put those in, you know that like that seed was generated without compromise, right?
Right.
And then what's cool is
now you've altered it and you're the only one that even knows the numbers you put in.
Exactly.
Well, that was one of my other questions. So is Coldcard the only storage device like this that doesn't ever hook up to the internet? It's the only one I've seen, is why I ask.
Yeah, it's so some other devices will sort of confuse people with fake marketing, right? They will say it's air gapped, but it's connected to a computer. Well, listen, if it's air gapped, there is just air around it.
It's not, yeah. That's what that means, kind of, right?
Yeah. So Coldcard is sort of like the industry standard for security right now. You know, it's the only real air gap device on the market, and yeah, you know, the way I like to say it is like, you know, you get Caesars, right? And then you cut everything that's around it. And if it still works, well, then it's air gapped.
Gotcha. Hey, I think it was you that I first saw this, that you had posted or had it on your website or talked about it, was the $5 wrench attack. Was that?
Yeah, we have it on our website. Yeah.
And that's for anyone listening who's not familiar with a $5 wrench attack, or maybe $10 wrench. I don't know how expensive wrenches are, but that's when you do all the security and someone just comes up to you with a wrench and beats you in the head. So you give them your, the guy's like, right. How are we going to hack into this? And he just grabs a wrench and beats the hell out of the guy and goes, this is how you get it. So does your wallet have where you can have, like, you can give them the password?
So we have a bunch of different features against $5 wrench attacks, right? Against distress or beatings. So one of them is a Honeypot wallet, right? So you can essentially set up a second wallet that has the robber's money, right? So just a little bit of money to give it away to make the beating stop.
Right. So, he goes, oh, I've got it. And they look in there and they go, okay, there's some Bitcoin in here. Let's get out of here.
Right. And what that one is, and the bad guy won't know the difference, right? If you just type this different pin, it just goes into the other one and everything looks the same. So they can inspect the device in front of you and they won't know the difference.
Gotcha.
And then we have another feature that's my favorite. It's called the Brick Me pin. It's essentially a self-destruction pin. So you set this up if you want to. And what it means is that if you type this pin, the device bricks itself. It's done forever. It's garbage. The only way for you to get those coins back is from your backup that's not there with you.
Well, I would think that'd make the guy go from a wrench to a gun just because he's pissed off.
He's pissed, but it's over, right? So a lot of bad guys don't wanna add more charges, right? To like when they are committing a crime, they rather not kill the person, right? Because then it's a murder now and they're extra screwed.
Right.
So
right. And they have nothing to gain at this point. They can't get it. And
exactly,
no matter what they do to you. So
it's done now. It's either shoot me or leave, right? Because there is no Bitcoin for you. And another nice thing about that feature is let's say you forget the device with you and you're crossing a border and you're not allowed to cross the border with a certain amount of money or whatever. And you can't like really go back. You can't do anything. So, maybe you just destroy the device and Bob is your uncle. And then we have another feature that's the passphrase, right? So on top of your on top of the seed that's on the device, you can have an extra seed that you have to type in for you to see those funds. So the key here is you can go very simple, so grandma can use it kind of deal. Or you can go all the way to full paranoid.
I take that as an insult to grandma can use it kind of deal. I'm a grandpa. See, I'm on the lookout for these subtle little knocks here.
That's right. It's ageism.
It is. There's a lot more of it than you realize. I mean,
so yeah,
I'm giving you a hard time.
I know. So the idea is, there is different levels of security for different comforts and different needs. That's how we like to make things.
Right. I do have a question. You have on the site the option to buy the Coldcard and with 2 SD cards.
Yeah.
Why is that an option? Why would you want 1 Coldcard and 2 SD cards unless you were going to, divide it in half, what you had? Why would you need 2?
2 backups. Oh, never have just 1 backup.
So does the Coldcard itself come with the SD card in it?
No, it doesn't come with anything.
Okay, so I thought maybe 1 was for your original.
Right. No.
And then okay, so explain that to me.
So you should always have a clear text backup of your seed somewhere. Right? In case because digital stuff can go bad, right? That's just the reality of it.
Yeah. Now, everybody needs to, and it shouldn't be a brainwash,
right? So,
in case of the $5 pipe attack, you might get hurt and not remember it.
but your seed is going to be under a mountain below a sea somewhere, right? It's essentially impossible to go get it in any reasonable amount of time. Okay. So what you do is you have this encrypted backups, a little bit more accessible, still fairly well secured and in different hard to get places, but more accessible. But what's nice is that they're not clear text, they're encrypted backups. So there is a little bit less fear of them being seen or being handled. So then say you run your car over your Coldcard accidentally or whatever, right? And it's destroyed. And so what you do is you just buy a new Coldcard, you put the microSD in, you type in the decryption key for that microSD card, and then you can restore your funds so you can continue business without having to go unearth your seed from the bottom of the lake.
So basically, I want to make sure I understand. Sometimes being a grandpa, it takes me a while to get stuff. I take my Coldcard, I put in my SD card, and I create my wallet and do all the stuff, Then I put in the second SD card and create a backup on it.
Yes.
And so if my first SD card or my backup SD card was somewhere safe and my house burnt to the ground, I could just go get another Coldcard, pull out that other SD card out of storage.
Yep.
Type in my passphrase and I'm in business.
Back in business.
And I didn't have to get online.
That's right. So the idea was, we're a business too, right? And we have to go back to business, right? Say the house burns down, the office burns down, the office is robbed or whatever, right? We wanted to make sure that you can get back in business fast. So the idea is you should have at least more than 1 digital backup on top of your seed backup. So you're just removing all the points of failure. You're removing the need to go unearth things that shouldn't be unearthed. And, and then you have peace of mind.
So I'm going to break this down again. I want to make sure I understand. And if someone else is as dense as me, I've got my open dime. I've done all my air gap, made a wallet on an SD card. Then I stuck another SD card in there, made a backup. Now I have those 2. Mm-hmm. And this is Fred who's doing 1 Bitcoin per wallet.
Mhm.
Now I would put in another SD card, air gap it, and make a wallet on it in the same open dime. Or
The
not
same
in
code
the same
card.
cold card. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. And I'd make a brand new wallet on this one and then do the same thing again, then make a backup of it. And I would do that 10 times with 20 SD cards to have the perfect backup of one Bitcoin per wallet.
If he wants to separate it that way, yes.
Now, this is the pretense I work on. This guy's pretty anal. I'm not
Yeah,
that.
so no,
I'm not
you-
that
yeah.
anal.
Yeah, no. It's and that's exactly how Coldcard functions, right? He can definitely do that.
And so he would never have to set up the Coldcard again, though, as far as a password for it.
No, he wouldn't have to.
From then on,
he
the
can use
securities and the SD cards.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I've got that down, and hopefully Fred, which is a made-up name for this guy, he understands that. I do have a couple other questions, though, about stuff of yours. What's the terminal that you're making?
Oh, we need to take that off. We have shelved that project.
It looked kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, that's what we used to have a debit terminal for Bitcoin back in 2012, 2013.
How about the Bitcoin server?
We have that project. It's sort of still in R&D. We're just so now what we're working on is essentially another device that's going to be a sort of like a companion for a Coldcard, probably, where you can have like more features and touch and camera and all that stuff. And we're also making another block clock that's cheap.
Okay, yeah, because I looked at the block clock and I was like, wow, you really got to want to keep up with the time there on the blocks.
Now, it's a piece of art, and it was very expensive to make.
Oh, I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm just saying you really got to want it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we're making an affordable version, which is pretty cool. We should have some news on that in the coming weeks. I hope. I think it'll be a huge hit because I have a block clock in every room in my house essentially.
Oh wow.
Because I have like prototypes and I have like boards. They have defects and all that stuff, right? So I'm like, I made sure they all work, and I just have them everywhere. I can't. It's a very satisfying device because of that clicking sound.
Oh yeah. I think that sounds interesting. Well, I'm interested to see the cheaper version of that.
Yeah, I want to make sure everybody can get one. It's just too nice to have it.
Hey, I got some questions for you from Twitter. Whenever I interview someone, I always ask if anyone has questions, and you got quite a few. So
shoot it.
Want to go through? Okay. First one is from Al's Lacrosse at @lacrosse_Al. I like Al's Lacrosse.
Oh, the dirtbag Al.
Yeah, dirtbag Al. And this is kind of an ageist question. I want to let you know right now. Maybe he did this for me. Any intention to offer a simplified UX with an easy option on Coldcard, or perhaps another hardware wallet for grandpa experiences?
Yes.
Picturing Jitterbug cell phone on hardware wallets. Come on, Al. Get off this grandma and grandpa stuff. so is there any option? Okay, it's coming up.
It's coming.
Oh, then I could use it. Okay, question number 2 is from Away Dieter Bob. Will tech giants eventually enter the Bitcoin hardware wallet industry?
I find it unlikely because, well, maybe say another 10, 20 years, but it's very early for Bitcoin. And I think what's going to happen is a lot of these giants will essentially just have, because they're not going to go open source, right? And especially for the hardware. And you can't really trust a closed source hardware wallet, period.
That makes sense.
So it's incompatible with these businesses. So, we're gonna have our thing going, and they're gonna have a mass market solution that is not as secure. And then there will be some tiers as people lose their money with those devices, but they will exist, I guess.
Gotcha. Yeah. I understand that. That makes sense. Chris Coins1 wants to know, or he wants to tell you that he wishes his Coldcard could be an actual calculator on boot up. Was this feature never considered or discarded during development? And then Jack Spurt 13 says, you should sell calculators the shape of a Coldcard for $20. I didn't know there were so many people wanting to do calculations on their Coldcards when they're starting up their wallets.
Coldcard has a meme. Is it just a calculator?
Okay.
That's
what it is. Then it's the meme that they're making. Okay. I didn't know that.
But we actually did look into possibly putting a calculator feature in the device, but we only have two signs. There's only essentially multiplication and check, right? Which is an X and yes. So we would need more keys for one. And two, we're not fans of security theater. And the reality is bad guys that are bad guys, they're already sophisticated enough to come after you for your Bitcoin. They're going to know what the device looks like. So, there is no point.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to have it laying on your table anyway, do quick calculations with. Okay, from F Cross, he says this is the most important question. And I'm not even sure I'm going to pronounce this right. It may be in French, I don't know. Picaho u mamaha?
Picanha.
Okay. And
Picanha ou maminha?
Yes, and a question mark. That's a question. I don't know what that means.
So those are two traditional Brazilian cuts of beef.
Okay.
So picanha is essentially tri-tip with the cap, with the fat over, right? And maminha, if I remember right, it's like bavette or it's the tip of the skirt. I think can't remember now. Anyways. Oof, that's a very tough one. I'm not a person who has favorites. I like both. I make both almost every week.
Well, there you go. See, I didn't even know that. So I learned something new today that had nothing to do with Bitcoin.
Well, when you come by Toronto, I'll make you some Brazilian barbecue.
Oh, that sounds good. That sounds real good. Yeah. I'll go for that. Okay, last question is from Chiles. What is your favorite canoe?
Ooh. So I'm a big fan of 16 and a half footers, as light as possible. So, you want a bow that can take both open lake and small streams, because that's how you portage through our north in Canada. But you have to then carry that on, 3-4 kilometers. So it's the lightest as possible.
That makes a lot of sense there. I don't go canoeing much, but the one time I went, it was heavier than hell. And we got to low water. I got tired of toting that thing around. I've only been to Canada once, and that was just at the airport on the way to Venice. We had a layover in Canada, and I didn't have a very good experience, Rodolfo, in Canada there. I went
we're a fun country full of tough people, It's unfortunate that only the progressive crap gets attention.
Well, in my case, I went to get on my plane, change planes, and I went and got on my plane, and I'm sitting there going, "Where's my wife and daughter at?" And I'm like, the plane's getting ready to take off, and I'm going, "Man, I'm kind of worried." And I look at the guy sitting next to me, and his ticket says we're going to Cuba. And he can't speak English. No one on the plane could. And I'm like, holy crap, I'm on the wrong plane.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That is funny.
And then
entering
I could hardly
wrong
get
plane?
off. Huh?
Wow. Entering a wrong plane is funny.
Yeah, especially when you're getting ready to go to a country where I guess I could have gotten in there, because I don't know if I could get in there with a U.S. passport at that time.
Yeah, no, so I think, so that was the shtick, right? Americans will come to Canada to fly to Cuba, right?
Well, that's what was happening to me. I meant to be. Oh, well, I'm just joking. I had a fine time at the airport. I guess I bet it was an airport, so who knows? Yeah.
Airports are airports.
Yeah, we still want to go to Canada. So if we come to Canada and come your way,
we'll take you out. We'll take you out for dinner, man.
Yeah, we'll definitely look you up. Hey, before we go, is there anything that maybe I didn't cover that you wanted to make sure that we talked about, or I didn't want to miss something you might want to talk about or promote or anything like that?
Well, just follow Coldcard Wallet on Twitter, follow Open Dime on Twitter, follow me on Twitter at NVK. If you're into Telegram, we have a Telegram group for our cult products. And it's at the Telegram, I think, is Coldcard. let us know how we can make stuff that makes your life easier and more secure as a Bitcoiner. If you have questions, just reach out to us. We're happy to help people out. And I guess that's it. I mean, buy our stuff. We keep on making it.
Hey, also, while we're talking about helping people out, last year, and I don't know if I ever really personally did this, last year you donated some cold cards and open dimes and caps, and you donated a bunch of stuff for us to give away at prizes at BitBlockBoom. And I wanted to personally tell you.
We're going to do it again.
Oh, cool. Well, I wanted to tell you thank you for doing it last year. People were, it's amazing how my wife was handling the booth when people would come claim their prizes. She was amazed at how excited people was because she didn't even know what they were getting when she'd hand them stuff. And she was like, people were really excited when they came and got their prizes. And I was like, cool. So that worked out pretty good. So I just wanted to personally tell you thank you for donating prizes to give away to people. I think I had one left, and we had a contest for our 500th episode of 4 Minute Crypto, and did that as a prize. And,
listen, I'm glad people enjoyed it, and it's it's nice to support events that do good.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it, and I appreciate you coming on the show. It was nice talking to you again. I look forward to seeing you in August, and I guess I'm going to say adios, muchachos.
Hey, thanks for having.
Thanks a lot.
Take care.
This is a BitBlockBoom.com production.